shaking. This is my time. Let's go.
Let's rumble.
Yo, this ain't practice. This is what I do just to slap Galactus. Ninja backflip, avenge your tactics. Attract the whole world like my name was Magnus. Foot dive on the game of Doc Doom. Turn my microphone into cipher just to rock tunes. Get it? I'm a rider, strider, bomb dive. Your trigger happy to flow to get live. I run with a rage like he's so mean. I feel an atmosphere of power like EVO scenes. I'm choking peers with a broken tear. An evil genius and beast that most should fear. I'm on my Dante. I beat devils rough. Make them feel my afterglow when I level up. And haters talk all they won't, but they ain't brave. We make history like Cannon and SRK. Well, they come out fight, and this is my goal. Grab my joystick and I'm back on the road. Quiet is kept, I keep my stats on the low. But I've been training, I'm about to break like a code. And this is my fight, and this is my goal. I grab my joystick and I'm back on the road. And now I never stumble when I come up. I'm taking over this summer. The passion in me is burning, so get ready.
Let's rumble.
From the Bay, New York to East Asia. Elite players, new leaders, yeah, we major. He plays more bionics than Lee Majors. Watch us turn joysticks to Z-Savers. We cause a fight with stars and stripes. A barrage of fatal claws to your bars and life. We stand hard, advance guard through Asgard. Rap hard till they get mad scars. A hit from Hagar. I'm Frank West with my palmer swing. Swag on my zip line, I'm a combo fiend. Who wants this championship? Right. Pump your iron fists and make every move designed to hit. I see the Vegas lights in the air like a major strike. The battleground is set, now let's make it hype. United we stand the best on me. Here to present Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. This is my fight, and this is my goal. Grab my joystick and I'm back on the road. Quiet is kept, I keep my stats on the low. But I've been training, I'm about to break like a code. And this is my fight, and this is my goal. I grab my joystick and I'm back on the road. And now I never stumble when I come up. I'm taking over this summer. The passion in me is burning, so get ready.
Let's rumble.
Started from the bottom, now we're here. It's the third best podcast on the second best fighting game network in California. Welcome to the Fray. My name's Derry Husky, and holy crap, there was EVO, and now there's not EVO. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight with our special guests, some old returning faces, some favorites, and a new guy. Introducing first, his first time on the program. You may have seen him competing in Evolution 2013. He finished second place in Tekken Tag 2. You can follow him on Twitter at Bronson Tran with no vowels. BRNSN. See if I can do this. BRNSNTRN. Yeah, that's right. It's Bronson Tran. How you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. You caught him commentating EVO all weekend and with Ryan Hunter, not Hart. And Street Fighter Cross Tekken Top 8. It's Twitter.com/UltaDavid. David Graham, how are you?
Hey, buddy. Ready to talk about this cute boys list?
Oh, you and me on the list with Magus1234. Twitter.com/Magus1234.
What's going on, guys?
And also on the cute boys list is the CPM Vulture, the king of CPM gods. Twitter.com/NYCFurby. Arturo Sanchez, how you doing?
Yo, what's good? How you guys? How you guys doing this evening?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. So EVO was 2 weeks ago now. There was no show last week because everybody was recovering from EVO. We couldn't get anybody on the show because everybody was either half dead or sick or still in Vegas. But everybody's home and recovered. And now we're here to talk about EVO. Not really going to go into the results because most of you guys, if not all you guys, were either there or you saw it on the Twitch stream provided by I Play Winner and Team Spooky. With shout outs to both Vic and all the guys who helped from I Play Winner, Chris Seglia, Harrison, Slash, all the guys from IE Battlegrounds, all the guys from all the guys who helped out. They made such a great stream this weekend. Seth and all the intros. Speaking of the stream, Magus, I saw you realize something that we've talked about as being a goal of yours for, years now. I watched you commentate Marvel Top 8 with Yipes. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how that was?
How commentating was, like, in general?
Sure. For sure.
I mean, commentating EVO's, it's always an honor. I've I had the tapes for B3, followed fighting games since '99, and, like, yeah, went '04 and have been going ever since. So it's always a lot of fun. I just try to present the scene in a positive light and let people know what's going on the screen as well as I can. I try to get people excited for it. Hopefully, whoever I commentate with could do that better than me. So, and Yipes is pretty decent at it. So it was cool, man. It was a lot of fun.
Did you ever think that maybe one day you would be commentating top 8 Marvel versus Capcom at EVO?
Yeah, of course. I mean,
You're like,
I
no
was.
doubt.
It's like I always thought if I tried and I wanted to be a decent commentator, why not? I should be up there. So that's at least my perspective on it. But
Speaking of decent commentators, David, why don't you give us a little bit of your insight into the experience of commentating at EVO, specifically commentating a grand final at EVO?
It's pretty sick. Yeah, it's cool. Am I on? By the way, is this working?
Yes.
you shouldn't be.
Apparently, dude. So anyway, commentating at EVO, especially grand finals, is pretty sick. You feel some pressure to not do an ass job of it. I try to do research in advance. I go up there with a whole Word doc of info that I have about players and characters, and I can't remember everything, so it's nice to have that kind of thing to look at, just to remind myself. But the actual commentary of it, it's a fine balance between trying to talk and trying to not talk, I guess. There are definitely moments in EVO Top 8 that are awesome enough that you don't need to take it up with yourself, which is something that commentators are more accustomed to doing. But at an EVO Top 8, if the action is good, and it mostly was this year, then you don't really need to do that as much. You kind of just let it flow a little bit more easily. So it's harder in a sense. There is more pressure, but in a way, the job is kind of different and a little bit more easy, I think.
What did you think of the matches for Cross Tekken this year?
Man, it was disappointing. Just gonna be straight about it. It was disappointing. I was really looking forward to it because it was a big tournament. There were 550 people involved, and I knew that there were so many good players there, and they had a lot of cool tech. But the people who got to top 8 were just baffling. Punko was there, and he just couldn't play that day for whatever reason. He consistently messed up combos. Momochi was doing the same thing, or MOV, whoever it was. I don't remember now. But there was really weird lack of play for some reason.
It was all about the off-stream stuff. It was all about the off-stream.
I know it was all about the off-stream
for cross specifically.
I know. So
Yeah.
it was top 8 was really disappointing in that way, because it was a potential way to be hey man, this game is pretty sick actually. It's not boring. But then top 8 was really boring. So
Yeah, speaking of, how how was commentating Injustice?
You know what? I like that game. I think it's fun. The only problem with it was that KDZ was too good. So when I was trying to commentate it, it was just it wasn't exciting because it was
What does KDZ play again?
Superman.
Injustice had the same problem that Cross Tekken did.
It was too free.
Man.
Yeah,
And
dude.
the same problem that Cross Tekken did. All the
And-
interesting players, top 16.
In Cross Tekken, I've pretty much come to view it like how I view Third Strike, which is an awesome game to play. But then once you get up to the highest levels, it gets boring. You get Chun, Ken, and Yun, and it seems
happened in
the same way
CVS
across.
too as well.
Yeah, in CVS, and it seems
be
to
all
happen
A
in
teams.
Injustice too.
Yeah.
Injustice had Superman. I think there were 3 or 4.
I think it's a little bit different though. Injustice is kind of 3 months into it, so the metagame is not going to be fleshed out. And the
It'll
week
just
after
get worse.
EVO, the week after EVO, KDZ lost to a fucking Hawk Girl. There
Yeah,
were
yeah,
multiple
I saw
interesting characters in top 16 that all
Right.
lost for whatever reason. There was a Batgirl player.
Right.
There was some Nightwings doing damage.
There was a
All those
Nightwing,
guys lost right before top 8. So it was kind of as I said, the same problem that Cross Tekken had, where all the interesting players lost. They couldn't perform, and they lost right in semis. So it was a blow up. It was almost 4
totally agree,
Supermans.
man.
It was almost 4 Supermans if Gridman had beaten Eduardo, and Eduardo just started playing the game. If Gridman had beat him, there would have been 4 Supermans in top 8 for Injustice.
Yeah.
That would have been a disaster. It was already a disaster.
It already was a disaster. This
Yeah, it
shit
already
was
was a
so bad.
disaster. Yeah.
Both
Well,
games
This
were
just means
terrible
to
to
play
watch.
Tekken.
But Mortal Kombat was way better though.
Speaking
Well,
of,
I liked Injustice more than Cross Tekken because at least Injustice, the top 8 was competent. it was just really strange that in Cross Tekken top 8, dudes were missing combos so much and like didn't seem to understand how some of the characters worked. It was just it was really baffling. I
I
didn't
just blame it
understand.
on PS3.
I was so mad like seeing dude I was so mad because Chris G with that Green Lantern match I play him all the time and I had told him when he was playing DJT I was like look man you need the forward dash and you get a full combo and listen I even went to him I was like
Oh, yeah.
remember what I told you Chris and he's like okay and then the game comes on and he never does it he does it once so like I was pretty pissed like throughout all of Injustice yeah.
Speaking of disasters and injustice, Arturo, why is it that you think people in mass will say normalize Superman and then NRS's response is just crickets?
Oh well, I think Superman's gonna get normalized. It's just that with the Scorpion blow up, like people clearly overreacted to the character. And now everybody was like, after he got nerfed, they were all like, well, we shouldn't have like cried so hard to NRS because people were actually figuring it out. Like the game just needs to breathe. I mean, like yeah, sure. I think Superman does need like I do think Superman does need some nerfs, but at the same time, you can tell that people don't know how to play. Like people don't know matchups. Like whenever you see top players go against characters that they have no experience against, they get blown up. They have like a really, really, really hard time. So I just think it's an issue of people need to get better at the game. It's 3 months into it. The game needs to breathe. People need to get better, and hopefully within the next 3 to 6 months, we'll see like some dope tech. I think we're starting to see it already, but those guys haven't been performing consistently. They always choke it up, but sooner or later, people are going to stop choking.
This generation just complains and complains and whines and complains. Just sit down and play the game.
Well, you are so right. Like, look, like perfect example is like Sentinel, in Marvel. It was like everybody, even I like jumped on the bandwagon. It was like everybody is complaining, and we're just all crying like to the developers to fix the game. And then they fix it and we realize, you just need to let the game breathe. Like let's find out what happens first.
Even
Yeah,
if even if Sentinel had been left alone, like Magus, do you think he would have been OP at this point? Like,
Of course not. Like he cannot contend with the upper echelon of characters in Marvel. Like 99% of characters can't. The top 4, top 3, whatever you want to put it, are just undisputed.
well, Arturo, inversely, do you think that if we left Superman alone, it would be a Sentinel type situation, whereas the game develops, Superman turns out to be not as useful as people think, or do you think it's going to be a situation where Superman continues to dominate?
no, like, I mean, I think Superman is still going to be pretty good, but like I said, it's a situation where I don't 100% know the answer. Like, yeah, it tests on the game, but the game is still in its infancy, man. It's like 4 months. Like, I'm really willing to admit, even though I play Injustice and I actively try to learn it, like right now, as a community, we don't know shit about the game. As a whole, there's still new stuff it's still in the discovery phase right now. It's not like in the refinement phase yet. So there's still
Well,
like the metagame is changing a lot.
I
in my
definitely think
opinion.
that Superman has good enough tools that I can't imagine him being bad, and I
No,
don't
no,
think
I
that
don't
I
think
felt
he'll be
that way about Sentinel. When Sentinel was really good, I was like, this character seems really good, but like I don't know. Whereas with Superman, like maybe he won't be the best, but I can't imagine him not being high tier at least because he just
Yeah,
has really
no, like, I totally think he's gonna be high tier. Same with Batman. Like regardless, just because
Yeah,
of like
for sure.
the way they're designed. Yeah. But overall, like it's still kind of early. Like I mean, I want to see like how that high tier fleshes out and where Superman
I
goes. in the
totally
end.
agree. And like
Yeah.
I mean I'm interested in that not just at the top tier but at the bottom tier too. Like people sleep on a lot of characters, and like you mentioned, Hawk Girl ended up beating KDZ like right after he won EVO, which was pretty sick.
Yeah, with like no
like-
combos too. With, like
right,
zero,
yeah,
he
and
land a
just
whole
spacing
combo.
basically.
Yeah.
So-
and like Lex, I think Lex has a lot of potential in that game. Like there's a lot of stuff like that that I hope NRS lets people take some time to figure out. But I mean, you got to understand, like from the MK9 and Injustice players' perspective, like they know that their developer is like really heavily involved in the community and will pay attention to things and will nerf or buff things if there's enough of an outcry. So I feel like that kind of makes it more likely that a community will voice
people,
their opinion.
yeah,
because they
people
know
kinda-
that they can make
people-
things count.
Yeah, I mean, people kind of went ham. I mean, I know when people were going crazy about Scorpion, a lot of people were just asking me to just like agree with Scorpion, but the Scorpion nerfed blindly before I had any actual evidence. So like that's definitely, I think that's an effect of, maybe when the community gets listened to like more often than it usually does, like Capcom games, where playing like once a year. Where it's like with NetherRealm games, you feel like you have input all the time, so people just go ham.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think they're a bunch of babies. That's what I think.
Yeah, I feel like that's a bad thing because you're like enabling a bad habit. It's like giving heroin addicts more drugs to do.
To be fair though, like
it's good on
when
one
downloadable
side.
characters, when the downloadable characters come out, like they come out with like bugs and stuff that need to get fixed. Like Zod's trait doesn't even work right, and the character just came out, so stuff like that, sure, it does need to be fixed too.
Yeah, like there are real issues and like
Yeah,
happening
actual issues
in both
Yeah.
games. So like it's good that the developer, I think, has an active role. I just feel like sometimes they're too active in it.
Well, pivoting off of a game that people had high expectations for that disappointed, we'll move on to talking about a game that a lot of people had almost no expectations for and turned out to be one of the best games of the show. Bronson Tran, you ended up in the grand finals of Tekken Tag 2. First, a lot of people were surprised to see you go on a tear through the losers bracket and end up in grand finals. And they're talking about how difficult that is and how, it's unprecedented. But, for those of us that have been around long enough, we've seen this sort of thing before. What is it that you think makes it so that the players who have been around since the earlier days have this ability? Like, what is it about those players that have this ability? We've seen Ricky do it. We saw Justin do it in Marvel. Why do what is it that you guys have that allows you to run through these losers bracket matches where it's like, you get knocked into losers bracket third match and then go for 20 more matches through losers bracket and end up in grand finals? Why is it that you think older players don't seem to be intimidated by the losers bracket?
Well, I think in my Tekken career, there's actually two shifts of what happened. In my first 7 or 8 years, I was actually really good, and it was a determination. I think that's the same factor with Ricky or Justin or John Choi. That it's the pride, right? But then after those 7 years, I lost every single tournament I've ever entered, really bad, not even top 8, not even top 16. The difference this year was I came in with a whole new mindset. I was like, fuck it, this game is just for fun. I don't care anymore. It's just casual. It's just casual. And it wasn't that inside I felt. I didn't care about it. It was just that I needed to trick my mind into thinking there's no pressure on me to win this time. There's no pressure to excel at this game anymore. And that's what helped me through losers actually. It was after I lost in pools, I was like, man, it's over. I could just chill. Even if I would lose, it's all okay. And I just had fun the entire time through losers, talking shit to everybody. When I played Tokido, I was just talking to him the whole entire time. When I was playing against Run It Black, who is the SoCal player that talked hella smack for no reason, I was just talking down to him the entire time, in a very classy way, obviously. But
Obviously.
I think it's the mindset. It's just the mindset of me having fun in this tournament, and it took a whole year to get this mindset ready because this is only really the second Tekken Tag 2 tournament I've entered, and I really wanted to do well, and I knew I had to do something ever since the last Tekken EVO.
Well, do you think that you're talking about approaching the tournament from a casual standpoint and not really caring as much because you're already going into the tournament with this mindset of whatever, it's just for fun. In poker, they talk a lot about going on tilt, where they talk about you get emotionally distressed. You get nervous, something happens, you get a bad beat, you get a bad flop, whatever. And then from then on out, you're just playing from this fight or flight space inside your mind where you're making bad choices and you're listening to your instincts and you're not thinking things through. Do you think that your mindset was helpful in helping you to avoid a tilt state?
Oh, definitely. Before, when I would lose a round or a mistake on my part, I would not stop thinking about it even throughout every additional fight in the future. I would just always go back to it in my head, but man, I really messed up there. Man, how come I didn't land that combo? And I would always just think about it. With this new mindset, I was like, you know what? I messed up. It's all good. I mean, we're in Vegas still. It's only a one-day tournament. I get to go drink, go have fun, go watch some shows, go eat.
Now, were you really approaching this tournament casually, or is that a West Coast option select where you're saying, I don't even play this game? Were you grinding this game hard going into EVO, or were you honestly coming into EVO?
I actually played quite a bit with Jimmy with Naps. I play like once a week, for a few hours, and then the coming weeks before Evo, I probably play like 2 to 3 days a week, just like a few hours at night after work or something. So people that say I didn't play, it's kind of a lie because they just didn't know I played so much. Actually, that's a lot for me. So before every other Evo, I wouldn't play for like 6 months before Evo, just because I was stupid. But this this Evo, I actually wanted to play. I want to do well, and I had like a whole new strategy. I switched up my characters. I switched up my mindset, and I guess it sort of paid off.
Well, what do you think about the American Tekken scene then? Like, cause
I hate them.
like I know, but SoCal is like, in the Midwest and the South are kind of like the burning areas where all the good players are. But you coming out of NorCal, people didn't have a lot of hopes for you. They're just like whatever, and you end up doing the best. I'm just kind of curious, what do you think about the general Tekken populace, their character choices, who's out, like what's going on with everybody?
I could care less about the rest of the country in Tekken. I hate the new community so much. They just complain and complain and complain and complain and complain. And I could just like turn my back on them and it'd be fine because the new community I don't really have any strong ties to, and this was mainly everyone in the world knows NorCal's strong, and we're strong because of two players. We have other players that are strong too, but everyone that's played us like in a casual setting or maybe in a set knows that we are probably the best players in the country.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't think it was a surprise to many players in Evo. It was more a surprise that, oh my God, he's actually playing well this time. And
Right. Like that's
yeah.
what kind of like what I told you is when, I was sitting in the commentators area moving around a lot, and I was shifting from one area and having to go commentate with Ski on Street Fighter 4, but they were reading out the names for top 8 in Tekken as we were doing it, as you guys were getting on stage, and I was just like, okay, whatever, I gotta go commentate. And then like one of the last names they said was Bronson Tran, and like everybody around me was like, what the fuck? Like like seriously, he's in top 8? So it was really funny because like mid match, like me and Ski commentating, we'd be stopping watching your matches and stuff like that. It was really funny.
Dude, I've just
Bronson-
been around for too long, man.
Yeah, we've all been around a long
I was
time.
doing that same thing. I was commentating something at the time for part of Tekken Finals, and I like kept trying to not pay attention to what I was commentating and watch you instead.
Arturo, what did you think of Street Fighter 4 this year?
In what sense? In terms of like the overall tournament, the comp?
Yeah, let's start with obviously the guy everybody expected to win. That story, we had some interesting matchups go down. I mean, let's talk about the actual bracket first.
There are some incredible matches. I mean, the main thing I took away from it is that is that the playing field is definitely kind of evened out. Like like Asia, they have like Japan actually, like they have the highest concentration of top players, but that doesn't guarantee that they'll win the event. I mean, Shen won the event, like Shen's sick. Like who was it? It was Shen, Tokido, and Infiltration top 3, and like Eduardo 4th. So like I think between all top players, it's really like level playing field, and I think like a lot of the matches were super interesting to watch. I mean, the same thing as every tournament, like especially off stream. Like the off stream matches are crazy. I actually watched more off stream than I did that was actually on the stream, obviously. So like you want to ask me like about those blow ups, I can tell you, but pretty much what happened was once you got the semis, everybody just took out everybody. It was completely random, and like there was like a little bit of luck involved because there were just so many good players that it was just based on like who you're playing, like who's in your bracket, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, just looking at the list of players that I tied with for 33rd, it's ridiculous. I mean, you have freaking like Mark Teddy, you have Ryan Hart, Ricky Ortiz, Momochi. I could just keep going on and on and on. It was just like the most stacked tournament like I've ever seen.
Do you think that that Street Fighter 4 has come and gone past Daigo? Do you think the game has passed him by?
No, I mean, I just think that everybody's good now. I mean, the game's been out for 5 years. People know how to. If you're playing at this point and you're getting top 32, like you're probably a certified killer. I just think that everybody's good and anything can happen. And it's no longer guaranteed like how it was in the old days. And then and then people like Shen, like just well, like I mean, he's not coming out of nowhere, but he's just kind of just creeping up there, like traveling to all these regions, playing, and then now he finally won the big one.
Yeah, I think
Not-
a clear distinction needs to be made about kind of like the placings in tournaments like 10 years ago, and how that there was like this real divide between a handful of players who actually took the game really seriously, people who took it somewhat seriously, and then a bunch of casuals. And then now it's like you have a ton of people who take it seriously, a ton of people who take it somewhat seriously, a ton of pop monsters. So it's like
Yeah.
you're going to have much varied results depending on who's training more that day, who's having a good day period. Like
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
not gonna it's never gonna be the same. Like it's never gonna be
I mean, yeah, it was just ridiculous. I mean, even in my pool, I had John Choi in my pool, and like I
Right.
had to fight out of losers. To put into perspective, like Sanford, who always like wins Battle Circuit like every other week, he didn't even make it out of his pool. He lost to Dogra twice, which is crazy. So that means Dogra lost in pool. I'm just saying, people were getting blown up left and right. It didn't matter if you were a top player or not. Like people were going in.
yeah. And Daigo getting top 8, like getting top 8 was like an amazing accomplishment in itself. Like it is literally the most stacked Street Fighter 4 tournament of all time, and getting top 8 is pretty incredible.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't
sure,
think
for sure.
I don't think it's gone past Daigo in any way. I just think,
Yeah.
like Art said, there's just more competition now.
Yeah, like I think if you get top 32 at EVO and Street Fighter or Marvel, you can probably win a major.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, in my opinion.
David,
And
how
as far
much?
as the Evo like top finishers, like in looking through that list, like I don't even think it's just top 32 that wins majors.
Oh yeah,
It's like,
oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
it's just like the top 100 people or whatever that number is at that level. I feel like those are all potential. Like if they show up to like your major and wherever you're from, you're like, oh man, did you hear that this player came? Like it's like that. It's that kind of thing now.
David, you look through the results for the top 8, top 16, top 32. We're at a point, I guess, in the life cycle of Street Fighter 4, where America theoretically should be on level ground with Asia as far as the comp level. The scenes are pretty stacked in America. There's a lot of people to play against. It used to be people would say that Japan was better than America in Street Fighter because they had arcades everywhere and there was somebody to play all the time and they had the game longer than we did, etc. But now, those excuses don't really hold water anymore. And yet you look at majors like EVO that have a strong foreign attendance and consistently the same players win, and they're usually not American. Do you ever think that maybe Americans just can't consistently compete at that level, specifically in Street Fighter 4, because as a group we spend too much time focused on a broad range of games versus guys like Infiltration or Daigo or Shen who play maybe 1 or 2 or at the most 3 games, whereas guys like Filipino Champ or PR Balrog are playing like every game that comes out?
No. I think that almost every major fighting game country is on basically the same footing. It that half of the top 8 was Japanese this year, but I bet if you run the same tournament again next week, it's completely different.
Yeah,
it's
I'm not. I think
It's like definitely too stacked. So like, there's an American in top 8, or there are 5 countries in top 8 this year. Last year there were 6 in top 8. And if you look just outside of top 8, there's like Snake Eyes, Zangief, Wolfkrone is right there, Justin Wong is right there, Latif is right there. So like that very easily could have gone completely the other way. I feel like the only like lesson in terms of country strength out of EVO is just that there's parity. At least among like the high level players. I don't know about when it comes to like mid level, but high level, like you go to the top 32 there, you go to the top 16. There's everybody. Everybody's in there.
Magus, do you think there's ever a time where America needs to just stop goofing off and start playing top tier?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you know me. Like, I always feel like they should, at least people who want to win. But playing those weird characters, man, it's useful as well. So I don't know. I don't know.
Obviously, Shen
Dude,
managed to
in
take a
Street
weird
Fighter
character.
4.
Look at Hakan, yeah, dude. Like
Yeah,
Hakan.
look at this. Look at this top 8. Okay, there's Gen, Akuma, Hakan, Balrog, Fray, Evil Ryu, Ibuki, Makoto, Rufus, Ryu, and Adon. That's top
Right.
8.
Like, how do you
could
practice with
definitely-
that?
And I think like 62%, I calculated it, of the game's roster was in the top 32. And like I said, like sure Justin ends up at 13th with Rufus, but he's like a match or two away from getting top 8 with Rufus. Haitani got there with Makoto, who is like about the same tier, maybe even worse than Rufus.
Yeah,
it's
I
crazy.
mean, literally at that point, it's whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
like even looking like above top 33, look at the guys who got 25th. You have Vae, Chris Hu, Itazan, Krizzle, Misei from Japan, Fudo, and Velociraptor. It's crazy. And then you go above that, Bonchan, Urio, Human Bomb, Zhao Hai, who got 4th last year, K-Brad, Mago, Luffy, and Chris King for 17th. I mean, like, what do you want to
They
say?
were-
Just roll the dice.
Yeah,
There were
it's
no
definitely
camis
dice roll.
in top 8.
Yeah.
There were, like, if you think about what you think the top 5 is, like I feel like Akuma is in there, and maybe Adon, and other than that, I don't like my top 5 does not show up in the top 8. So I don't think that tiers are the issue in this game. It's a matchups game.
Well,
so if
nah,
you're
I have to
if you're
disagree with
Justin
that,
and you're
though.
playing Rufus, like you should have a character that can deal with some of your bad matchups.
It's
But
very-
every
it's-
character has bad matchups, so it's
Yeah,
not
but
like
it's
you can
dangerous
pick a
to
top tier.
use results ever when determining whether a character is how good they are. Because when you make tier lists, you're not necessarily going based off results, because results are just what people are displaying. They're not the potential of the character. So it's very dangerous to draw a correlation between those two. Especially if you play somebody who's good with Cammy. Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, of course. But if you're getting blown up by Cammy unblockables and dive kick BS, like you're like, this character's broken. I don't care what anybody says. That's just she's just annoying, and she could ruin your day, just like Seth. And I think characters like that should be fixed if possible. But
Well,
even if
The
they
only
don't
thing that I really
win,
care about, like I only care about results when it comes to tier lists. Like I'm
See,
not
I
interested
don't.
in what it's like
That's
in
not a tier
casuals.
list.
I don't
But
think
that's
that
not a tier
matters.
list then.
Yeah,
That's
it is.
something.
It's,
No, it's
like,
not.
if-
That's something else.
You can't just look at one tournament. You got to look at the couple years that we've had of AE 2012 so far. But if you do that, you can see. I mean, I looked it up. Like every single character has made a top 8 at some point. That speaks to the abilities of the different characters to do different things. And major after major has an entirely different top 8. No repeat characters.
It says
Like,
more about
it's
the
crazy.
player's ability to fight them than it does about what the character's potential is. Because if you bring in Hakan getting top 8 or some weird character like that, you're going to obviously draw the line saying, well, it's because nobody has experience, not because Hakan is good. That's not the first thing you're going to say. And, Gen, like people are going to say, yeah, Gen's a great character, but I don't think he's top tier. It's more that nobody has a training partner to fight Genverse. And results are very important, and I think they're indicators of what's useful and what people, what is easy / useful / gets results. But I think when you're rating a character based on the tool set that they have and the possibilities that they're capable of achieving, then it's not always going to show up in line with what tournament results are.
If you don't prove it, then like it doesn't matter. Like I can't claim that Hakan is a top 10 character, even though I think he probably is. Because the only time he ever shows up is when Infiltration does a random counter pick. So I'm not going to claim that he's top 10, even though, like, by tools, I think he is. Somebody has to do it first, I think,
I know.
before...
I agree. The importance of tier lists are not that high. I agree with that. Because if you're not proving it, then who gives a damn? But also, if you're fighting these really good camis and stuff like that, you feel how cheap that character is and how little your character might be able to do versus it, and even if she never wins a major.
And like, I just want to say, like, there was one Vega player in top 16 and one Rose player, Chris King and Luffy. That's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, Street Fighter 4 is amazing, man. Like the results and like it's Ultra kind of scares me. Like I don't know what they're gonna do.
Dude, me too.
Yeah, I'm a little scared.
All right. Last game we'll talk about from the standpoint of talking about what happened at Evolution. And I just want to send a quick thanks to everybody who is listening right now via YouTube and using Twitch as a poverty chat. Shout outs to Twitch for failing on us in the middle of the show. We'll talk about Marvel. And I thought, obviously Street Fighter 4 was probably the most interesting tournament as far as, the matchups and what was happening in the drama. But Marvel, man. First of all, Magus, let's talk about Justin Wong, man. Like, if you had told me 2 years ago, not even 5 years ago, 2 years ago, I would be watching an Evo, and everybody in the room would be cheering like crazy for a guy that they used to boo. Like, I would have told you you're crazy, but there we were at Evolution, and people were losing their shit over Justin Wong. Like, what were your thoughts sitting in the booth, listening to this crowd almost tearing the roof off the joint, cheering for Justin Wong in Marvel versus
It
Capcom?
was very emotional. And also, you know, some of Justin's friends got very emotional watching him because it was just one of those moments. And you know, he's just a hero that night. He's a hero to the audience, everybody who plays, and you know, Zero was the enemy, and he was going out there just like pulling Justin moment after Justin moment, and it was just, you know, it was incredible to watch him play. He really, you know, I looked at the top eight too, and I was like, man, this could be so boring. Like, I was honestly thinking that because I was like, these teams are just gonna be ugh. Like, it's just all gonna be like zero dominance, like, and Wolverine kind of going crazy. That's really what I thought in my head. So I was like, oh man, I hope somebody just kind of like really clutches it out and there's some crazy stuff because I didn't really think. Like, I kind of knew Champ was going to lose to that Zero player. I don't know why, but I just, you know, I felt like it was Zero's tournament. I said that, like, at the beginning of the first day of Marvel. I really felt like Zero was just going to show his dominance in the game, and it was about time he did. But just watching Justin, like, do the impossible, man, like, it was crazy. It was awesome. It was really cool.
You know,
I mean, there
people
was
were in
so
tears.
Yeah,
so
exactly. People were, like, in
People,
tears, like, straight
no,
up.
I was walking around. I was just walking around with the camera, and I was like, "Yo, there's gonna be like some magical stuff happening right now." Max CPM.
Yeah.
That's all I was thinking.
I mean, like you said, Art, like nobody used to cool a crowd better than Justin Wong. Like a crowd
Yeah.
used to be so hype and so crazy. Justin would play his match and everybody would be asleep.
Everybody would just dip. Yo, I remember people would walk out. You think
would
it's bad?
leave.
You think
Mid-
it's bad when Chris G gets heckled? No. People still watch Chris G. People would walk out on Justin the
Yep,
whole
in-
tournament.
In crowds, they would literally just
Yeah.
walk out.
You know, that was probably the best I've ever seen Justin play, and he still lost. Of all the
Yeah.
years I've watched him play in any tournament, I've
Yep.
never seen him like showcase fundamentals as well as he did
Right.
that day.
I completely.
I forgot that Akuma had a fucking overhead. I forgot he even had that move, and then he.
I think
like,
Chris G did too.
I was literally like watching that match, and that happened, and I was shouting at the time. I for fucking got he had that move. Like, oh, it was amazing, and then like just
It was just too much respect. He was just given too much respect by Chris.
Yeah.
Because I think Chris just didn't want to be part of a Justin moment. And I think he knew it.
Yo,
It's a trash.
as we were watching it, like I'm sitting there in the commentators like area with Ski Sonic and Ringe and stuff, and as that was happening, Ski Sonic's like, "Don't get momented, don't get momented, son." As I'm getting momented,
Oh man.
I'm
that was-
definitely gonna use that term now. Momented.
New word.
Yup. Justin
Yeah.
only.
It was really cool. It was really cool to see it come full circle because anybody who knows Justin, you know, they'll automatically tell you how cool of a guy he is. Like nobody will tell you that Justin's a dick, or maybe when he was first like really good, they would say he's really cocky or whatever. But he's just such a cool, down to earth guy, and like, you know, just to see the audience from what it used to do to him to kind of turn around and be rooting for him was pretty cool.
Man, that was the kind of top eight where, like, on the one hand, like, you know, like, you always want to commentate stuff because that's fun. But on the other hand, it's the kind of top eight where I was glad that I wasn't commentating because I got to go nuts and just, like, scream my head off like total idiot.
Yeah, I was
the whole
actually.
time. And,
That's
like, you
true.
can't do that if you're commentating. You have to be, like,
Can't.
talking and
And I actually
Yeah.
noticed because I would start like, and I don't usually do this, but I actually would start like looking around because I was just so excited. I wanted to see what other people were doing, like as it was going on. So I was like, oh man, I wish I was like, you know, betting right now.
That's
Right,
why.
yeah.
That's why I was walking around. That's why I was walking around the ground floor, man. Ground zero was kind of magical, man. Everybody was doing something.
Yeah, it was
Everybody
cool.
was doing something.
You gotta
I'm
be
gl-
there, man. You gotta go.
I have.
Yeah, you
I
gotta
have to
be there.
agree. I'm glad I would not be on the microphone for anywhere. I would just be shouting like, "Get bodied!" Like, I would have lost my shit. Like, I would have been unreal.
Gotta keep it
Obviously, Zero wins, and
going, which he should. And
well, I mean,
let's
it
let's
is
be
what it
honest
is.
here. That character is everybody knew it from like when Ultimate first came out. Like, yeah, this character's broken. Yeah, you know, Virgil's stupid. Like, it's and it's starting to show. Like, this game's, you know, not gonna take long to get to a point where the ridiculousness of it starts to turn players off. And you know, sad to say, I don't think there's gonna be a patch. Like, you know, that's what I think. But shit, it could really use one.
Well, I mean, outside, we'll talk about the game in the future. We'll talk about all these games moving forward into the future in just a moment. But outside of the zero, just kind of like sucking the hype out of the tournament, um, wasn't it nice to see Flocker be able to kind of pick this up? I mean, here's a guy who has been battling his way through the East Coast, been fighting for respect,
Yeah.
in the shadow of Chris G for a long time on the East Coast. Not mentioned in the same breath as a lot of the top players in Marvel. Not even mentioned as a top player in Marvel by some people, despite the fact that he was winning majors and he's placing top eights. And here he goes to EVO. I don't think anyone had picked him to win. I saw people talking about Angelic, obviously people talking about Champ and Chris G, and here's Flocker, and he ends
Yeah.
up,
Well,
I mean,
he was one of my locks for top eight. Not to win it, but he was one of my locks for top eight. I think he deserved it. I think he played amazing. Like it wasn't zero, it was him. And also, like it is really good for Florida because Florida has so much talent that they get forgotten a lot of time. Not quite being the South, not being like the New York East Coast. So it's like they're in this weird area where they're not often talked in the same sentence, but they have, Flocker, Green Ace, Marvello, Tong, like so many good players come out of there. And they're kind of like a NorCal in that sense, where a lot of times like people talk about SoCal, but they forget about NorCal. And he just had to show up and remind everybody that they're strong, and he's the best Marvel player in the world that day.
well, I mean, he's the first Marvel versus Capcom champion in any Marvel versus Capcom game that comes from somewhere other than New York, California. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's huge.
You have to give him respect for playing against the crowd. When you have like thousands of people just cheering against you, or more so cheering against the opponent or for the opponent, it's a really different feel than just playing like a normal major, normal tournament. It's kind of insane.
Yeah,
I
it's
definitely
hard.
think that Flocker was like one of those guys who, like one of the top 4 or 5 that you might bet on if you were like a crazy betting man. I feel like betting on somebody to win that tournament before it started would have been crazy. I would have taken the field against anybody. But as far as like among the more likely people to win it, like definitely he was in that short list.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
All right, so let's keep with Marvel versus Capcom as we start to talk about the games moving forward. Mag has talked about, at San Diego Comic-Con at the Capcom panel, Capcom teased the crowd by mentioning a patch, which is something that I think they realize everybody wants, so it was an easy way to get people talking about the game. But as Mag has said, and I completely 100% agree, there's probably not going to be a patch for this
Morning,
game at
guys.
this
What's on
point.
the agenda?
But if they were to patch this game, I'll start with Magus. And what do you think would be priority number one to be fixed?
Oh man, there's not really like TACs, okay? Like I guess, but I have no idea. Like there's no priority one. It's just like a full package type thing, like XF, TACs, ridiculous hitboxes. I think it's and I did some stuff with FGTV guys where we kind of just like did a theory craft of what we think the game should be changed. So if you really want to see it, and then Visant did some good write-ups. A bunch of people are talking about it, and I think that's cool and that's good to critically look at a game and do it. So if anything, that was interesting that came out of the whole thing. But I think Ono's just a big troll and he's just stirring up drama, and Capcom's probably really mad at him right now.
Bronson, why don't you think Alucard will play Viscant for money? Why do you think he's dodging Viscant?
Is he dodging Viscant? Maybe
Oh.
they just want to get. I have no idea, dude. I don't pay attention to the scene really that much.
Do you agree with Magus that TAC would probably be the first thing to have to draw attention here?
Yeah, definitely. It's like a free mix-up. Like just from a standpoint, like a fighting game standpoint, you rarely want to give a low-risk, high-reward mix-up like that to every character in the game.
So, stay with you, Bronson. First character that comes to mind, would you say Nerf Bat? Who should get it?
Zero.
Really? Not Morgan.
Morgan's fine, and you don't see you see a lot of
Morgan's
Morgans
fine.
like getting top. Yeah, she gets like top 8 with like scrubby players. Yeah, but those scrubby players never win an actual tournament. But Zero,
Are you saying Chris G is a scrubby player?
no, he's won tournaments. He's definitely good. He has the fundamentals.
He's saying
I'm
Chris
talking about,
G's winning those, not Morgan for him.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. You see like Jay Rosa, getting like top 3, top 5, top 8, but he's never actually gonna win a tournament because he's just
Wow.
living off of.
Goddamn.
Well,
Gee.
Keep going. No, keep going.
but yeah, like I think Morgan's completely fine. I think the only thing I would probably change just looking at the game is probably her shell kick, because a character with that kind of runaway should not have that kind of defensive offensive move that
That
just
move
like
is ridiculous.
totally blows everything out, you know? So that's the only change I would do with her probably. Everything else I think she's fine. She's kind of like a skill character. You gotta kind of practice with her and all that. But Zero, you just kind of hold a button down, you fly around. Then you land on a fireball here and there, and then you land on a death combo. Then you run like a 5-way mix-up. If it hits, you win. If it's blocked, you run another 3-way mix-up. Like, I hate training mode characters, basically. With Zero, you still kind of have to learn things. With, like, X Factor, or with Morgan, you still have to learn things. X Factor 3, like Virgil, I would change that too somehow. I don't know enough about the game that what would change. But characters that just, like, completely take out thinking is what I hate.
Magus, do you agree with Jay's assertion that Virgil's really the only thing that should be changed is swords?
No, but that's, like the stuff that I feel like they should really change in this game, I just know they won't. So I wouldn't even, waste my breath talking about stuff like really fixing hitboxes and the slowdown when you're hitting a second character. Like, there's just stuff that I know they're not going to change, even if, they somehow magically made a patch, even though they just can't. They physically can't. But what? No, I think there's more. But for now, yeah, that's fine.
We talked a little bit before the show went on the air. Do you feel like this might be the last big EVO for Marvel 3? Do you feel like maybe what we were talking about earlier in the show, that people might start to get a little bit sick of all this kind of BS with, level 3 Virgil, anchors and zeros and all this, and just kind of walk away from the game?
Oh, I mean, that's up to the players. Like, a lot of the times it's the storyline that drives the interest and not so much the match play and stuff like that. But, with Marvel, there just has a lot of characters playing, a lot of crazy people playing that game. So if they get sick of it, then yeah, obviously I don't think, next year's EVO will be that interesting. But if they continue to play and try new stuff and innovate, well, it could always come back and be crazy. It's Marvel.
Speaking
Man,
of...
I definitely do not think that's going to happen. I feel like this game is going to live forever, unless there's a patch or like a Marvel 4 or something like that. Even if it gets more top heavy than it is right now, which it might, it's like too fun. Like, it's not. Look, I hated the game for a while. I went for like a year and a half, like, actually hating the game, and the reason that I came back to it is that I saw people starting to play the game in a little bit of a smarter way. People who I thought were smart started to win tournaments more, and that's how I still think it is for the most part. But even on top of that, it's just like a fun game. Like, you're not going to stop playing this game, even if it's like really frustrating and annoying sometimes. It's just like too fun to give up.
Is it fun, though?
I mean, if you look at it, yeah, dude, it's a blast.
It's hella fun.
It's for sure a blast. Like, but even on top of that, like, if you look at the results this year, like, yeah, Zero won it. Zero was like 3 out of the top 8. But then there was like Wolverine, Storm Akuma. There was like a Shuma in there. There was a Hagar in there. Like, it's not like it's completely 5-character game. In fact, I don't think Doom was even top 3 or top 4, which is really weird to me. But like, it's not like it's gonna become so lopsided that nobody else can compete.
Yeah, it's really
even if it does, it's going to be too fun to quit.
Yeah, it is too fun, but the issue that kind of with Marvel 3 is when playing smart means playing dumb, is like, if that becomes the kind of staple of the game, then I think a lot of people are just going to be like turned off about it. So
that's what I'm saying.
It's hard to tell though. Like, people, I have no idea, man. Like, the game is so crazy.
The game is really fun to me when I'm playing a bunch of guys who aren't necessarily at top tier, who are just goofing off. Somebody's playing Deadpool, You know, like, but when I watch Marvel at a high level or when I play against top tier players, like that just doesn't seem very fun to me at that point. I had the same problem with Marvel too. Like, I appreciate the skill it's on display. I understand that it takes a lot of skill to play at that level, but it ceases. It's like we were talking about with Injustice, where it the game seems to be less fun at the top levels, and Marvel, for me at least, seems very much less fun
Well, I think he meant
at
it more
top.
as a spectator.
Oh no,
Maybe.
I meant both. I
Okay.
meant to play it too. Like I feel like top level Marvel 3 it like still is really fun. It can like again like if you lose in a stupid way then you're gonna get mad. But
It can be. Playing versus
it's
Morgan
all
in
about
Zero is
like
not not
no,
fun.
dude. I think that's fascinating though. Like I
As
really like
is
I,
watching or playing?
I like playing against it and
Oh,
watching it.
you're
And
crazy.
I
if
don't
I
like
could,
either of
if I
those
had
things.
yo, if
You're
I had
nuts.
if I had the manual dexterity, I would so be playing Morgan because she looks like such a fun, interesting character. Like she's this space control predictive character where you got to be thinking half a second in advance at all times. Like I feel like she's such a cool, interesting design, and I feel like that's fun to play, even if it's frustrating. In my opinion, at least, it's fun to play against. I like solving that puzzle. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
there's no
I feel
solving
like
the
it's interesting.
puzzle with some characters though. Like real
David,
talk.
Well,
don't
you're
you play
right.
like
Yeah, I mean,
Hagar and Hope?
I'd love to have a
Yeah,
buff, but
there's no solving that puzzle. I'm sorry.
no, but that's not true. Like Chris, she didn't win. He got fifth place, so
No, I mean,
it's
I meant with
possible.
certain teams. But yeah,
Oh,
she's
dude, sure, but
that's
I mean that's how it is in lots of games. Like if
right,
I
but that's
pick
not
you in
fun.
Third Strike, like it sucks. You know, I know I'm gonna have to play against Chun Li, and I'm just gonna be totally assed out. Like that's how it is, and I wish that those characters towards the bottom had a buff. Like that's mostly what I want in a patch is not to nerf things like Morgan, but
Yeah,
to buff characters so that they can solve the puzzle.
Yo,
yeah,
buff Thor.
I agree.
Hey, Thor doesn't need that many buffs to be a legit character. He's not that far away right now.
Buff
Yeah,
is ground dash. That would be
No,
like
like the major thing with Thor, like really all I would do is make it so that he doesn't have to charge up for mighty strikes and mighty smashes. So he can move through projectiles really well. He can OTG really easily, stuff like that. It's the charge up mechanic that I think makes it so he's like a mid tier character rather than
you need
high
some
tier.
buttons too, though.
his standing buttons are
Yeah, yeah.
ass.
Yeah.
It'd be nice. Yeah, it'd be nice if he had
Just give him some
faster.
buttons. Just like Rocket Raccoon, just give him some buttons, man. Just
Give him a
some.
sand jab. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be
Anyway.
fine.
They need to get rid of option
That's not
select in
major
that
issue.
game.
yeah, well, that's another thing, and I totally agreed with what Jay was writing, where he was talking about how there's just too many things that option select into throws in Marvel 3,
Mm-hmm.
and you know
And
that's
the
just
godlike H's, like
right.
it's just a mess of hitting one button a lot of the times. Like,
Especially with characters like Magneto and Zero, where H is their best button, and they're going to be pressing it anyway, and you
Yeah.
know, then it's okay. I got to throw now. I get to go, full combo out of that. I mean, like it's just, it's too much.
it is too much. Yeah, the game is not for the faint of heart. Like,
Moving
it's not.
moving on from a game that we were talking about maybe going RIP, people seem to think not, to a game that in America kind of is RIP, Tekken Tag 2. Bronson, I wrote an article for Shoryuken talking about Tekken. It wasn't received very warmly by some people in the community. And we talked about the article, you and I, and you seem to agree with a lot of what I was talking about. I mean, you disagree with some of it, but we talked about, Tekken as a game and how it has a lot of problems. And what is it that you feel at this point in Tekken's lifespan that's kind of holding it back from achieving the level of popularity it could? Because I played the game when it came out. Magus and I both played the game when it came out. We played a lot of Tekken when that game came out, and we both loved the game. Why do you think it's not really catching on with American audiences at this point?
I think everyone knows the answer to that. Basically, there's just so much information for a completely new player
Mm-hmm.
to just drink in and just like learn and everything. There's like if you've been playing Tekken ever since like Tag 1, all these characters, if you've just been playing it, they've only been added like 4 or 5 new moves every iteration, right? But for a completely new player, you have now 50 characters with like, God knows how many moves each, and you're going to have to learn the frame data of like at least 12 of those moves, times the 50 characters. So, you have to learn all that knowledge. Plus, there's not really that much like payout to play it because with no new characters or no new like players coming in, the tournaments are much smaller and they don't get as much like as that celebrity feel when you're a good player in it anymore. So then there's like less of a thing that players want to actually play.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what the article was about. That's what we were talking about. A lot of
Yeah.
us who are playing the game in NorCal were talking about how basically the game kind of needs a reboot or it needs a refresh at this point. Do you?
I don't.
I mean,
know.
it doesn't need it, right? It doesn't need it, but
Yeah, I think the game is actually really good. It's just that there's no new players, so it's kind of like you're asking for if you want to monetize this game, then you're gonna have to change it up. You're gonna have to go through the SF4, revamp of just complete new style, maybe a little scrub your mechanics here and there, and like an easy mode version, or you could cater to this niche crowd where the game's gonna eventually die. And since I've been in it for so long, I am the niche crowd, and I'm on my way out. So I kind of like the game the way it is.
Do you feel like when there are voices out there who are talking about the game and they're saying, hey, this game has got a lot of problems. There's too much to learn. You can't really, if you're a new player and you want to play this competitively, it's pretty much impossible. And do you feel like Namco kind of has their fingers in their ears and they're just like la 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 la? Because when we were talking about this issue when Tekken Tag 2 came out, where I was like, yo, there's 70 something characters in this game, and I'm having a hard time you'd have to spend 5 days just learning everybody's 10 string. That's where you should start. And then after that, it's like, well, how do I block this and that? And then Namco or people who are the Tekken Defense Force respond with, well, the game sells 10 million copies at launch, so deal with it. Do you feel like the casual popularity of Tekken is a big hindrance to its competitive success?
Definitely, I completely agree with that. They Namco has generally been always about the numbers. All these companies have always been about the numbers, right? So if they can send this like package deal out from the arcade with very minimal solo stuff and still make some sort of money off of it, then that's the way they're gonna go with it. I think they wasted a lot of money in marketing. I don't know how else they could have spent it, but they probably could have saved the money they spent on like that model chick or Snoop Dogg or any of these like, weird, or like the
I agree
25K
100%.
tournament at Comic-Con, I believe, for a game that's not even out. Like, when you're like laying off the U.S. company of Namco, like a majority of members, but you're over in Japan, you're spending who got like millions of dollars on Snoop Dogg and the model chick and like 25K rambling on a tournament. There's things that are obviously wrong with the company.
Well, what about if they made Tekken vs Street Fighter, right? Which Harada keeps like poking at, and so does Ono. Like, what happens if they made that like a more simple version? Would that like kind of just like would that make the veterans mad? Because that would be a good compromise.
I think that's when they just had this Revolution or Resolute out. I think that's the way they're gonna go with it. Easier mode.
I think it looks dope. Like I mean, you
Invincible
heard what I had to say about it. I was like, this is awesome. Like it's easier. Like it looks cool. My characters go boom when they hit. Like I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's good. I like what they did with the free to play in that sense. But I would hate to see those mechanics or that type of just free to play type of game in the next iteration of Tekken.
Well, that's
Like,
what we were saying.
Yeah.
That's what we were saying in the article. That's what we were saying in conversation. That's what all of us were saying was that, they could have Tekken Revolution, they could have Tekken Cross Street Fighter, and these games would be more approachable for new players, would have, revamped mechanics, and then you could have Tekken 8 or Tekken 7, and that would be the next actual Tekken game. And I feel like that was where they kind of missed the boat with Tekken Tag 2, was where they could have made this more accessible game, like because everybody has very fond memories of the original Tekken Tag, even people who didn't compete in the game, and instead they made this fucking beast of a game where it was like, it's huge roster and there's a million things to learn and there's all kinds of stage specific stuff, and it's like I don't even know where to start with this game. Like it's so much.
See, I'm such an old school player, so I love this game. So I'm really biased. I love Tekken Tag 2, and I could care less at this point if there are newer players coming. It's just that the current set of players, they just complain about the game instead of actually sitting down and learning it. Even though they're putting in that much time already, they're wasting their time complaining instead of just learning.
Hey, I respect that. I respect that. That's why I just kind of walked away from it. I didn't want to be complaining about it, so I couldn't compete. I walked away. That's what it is.
Yeah, a lot of NorCal kids, they tried it. I know you guys tried it a lot. Andrew put in hours and hours and hours in it.
We all did.
Hey,
Yo.
my Tekken disc is in my Xbox right now. It's what I've been playing again. So
I spent so much months just dicking around in Tekken for like God knows how long.
yeah. Dude, it's great.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
it's like my favorite fighting game. Like to actually feel like I'm playing a fighting game again. Where you actually think and you're like, oh, good job, that was sick. Remember, like, when you used to play games and go like, wow, that was sick, good job, dude. Like, you remember that? Like, people used to say that. Now it's like, wow, that sucks. Like, that is so cheap. Like,
it was like,
I mean, Tekken's sick, man. I love watching it, and like, it's fun to play. I just wish that the stream and people in the crowd were more into it. That's my biggest issue with the game.
well, I remember when
I really like
Tech 2
watching
came out.
it.
We all went to Hans's house, and Magus and I sat there, and it was just Magus and myself. We played a set of Tag 2, right? It was just him and me playing back and forth. 9 hours later, we're like, holy shit, did we just play this game for 9 hours? Like, we got to get up and walk around, dude. What is going on right now? It was so fun.
Yeah,
and yet,
fun.
when you go out and you compete, it's like, you play against Jimmy, and it's like, well, this isn't fun at all. Like,
well, that's to be expected, but it's more like once you start trying to wrap your mind around just every little thing about the game, it just becomes like taking, a college course as opposed to like learning a fighting game like you kind of naturally do. And especially because, like Bronson alluded to, because everybody who's already playing the game is playing the same game they've been playing for the past 10 years. And for us, it's a brand new game. So it's like, man, there's so much catching up to do. It's pointless, It's like,
it's not only the knowledge. I think the problem also is a lot of the Tekken top players, there's no personality. There's no, like, nothing, like, calling in new players.
There's also
like,
no
there's
mentor. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's no
there's
mentor.
Eris, right? And he's doing a great job, but I mean, look at all our Tekken 6 finals like last year or whenever EVO was. Look at all these new players. You have like fighting the you have like NYC Fab. You have Core. You have JFJ. These guys have no personalities that just grab like casual players. I mean, I've proven it too. Like this Tekken Tag 2 like finals. Who else could have just like started cheering up the crowd from the Tekken community? Like I walked out there, I saw the Tekken people, cheering for me, but then I looked past the Tekken people, just the people sitting down in the chairs, and they were actually into it. Like they don't know what the hell's going on with Tekken, but they knew this kid or this dude was just hype beating people, and he got the whole crowd into it, and that's what Tekken's missing right now. It's just star power.
It was so hyped that even the esports guys, they're like, who the fuck is Bronson? Yeah, and they started watching because of that. They're like, "Yo, like, isn't Bronson old? Is he retired? Like, what the hell? Why is he in grand finals?" Yeah.
Apparently, like, I know people on the chat, they didn't even know who I was. They're like, "Where's this Bronson guy from?" When I heard that, I was like, "Oh my god, this is bad."
I was not surprised the crowd got hyped. Can you imagine if like this year's Street Fighter 4 Grand Final had John Choi in it? How fucking hyped that crowd would be! People would be losing their shit. Like. That would be ridiculous.
I would have punched somebody. Like, I would have just punched the person closest to me.
For me, the only problem with Tekken Tag 2, is that it's out at a time when there's like a billion games, and if this game had come out in like the mid 2000s when I had nothing else other than like Third Strike, I would 100% be playing it and grinding on it, but I just really like Street Fighter 4 and Cross Tekken, and I would play KOF and I would play Marvel 3, and now I'm playing Injustice. It's like I like the game, but it's just out at the wrong time for me is really the only issue.
It was out at the right time for me too. That's what sucks. Because I was like, on Street Fighter 4, I'm done with this. Like Marvel, this game is broken. Like I was like, let's play Tekken.
I think what Bronson said is right. Like, I mean, I don't think the timing was bad. I think the current community right now is ass.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned mentors. Like, you asked some people in the Tekken community, how do I block, 4-2-3? Hey, fuck you. That's how you block it. Like,
just hold back, dude. Just block it. Why are you asking dumbass questions?
Exactly. Anyway, I want to go quick round table. I want to ask each of you guys your favorite EVO moments. I know that Bronson is due to appear on the Eris show. Make sure you guys tune in to avoid the puddle tonight. But real quick, Magus' favorite EVO moment?
It's a tie. Bronson getting grand finals and Justin Wong beating Chris G.
Bronson, favorite EVO moment?
Probably Justin. His play was amazing.
David, favorite EVO?
I guess I'm gonna cheat with 3. Justin Wong in Marvel 3, Infiltration picks Hakan, and Reynold wins 6 straight.
Oh, that's a nice one. And finally, Sabin, your favorite EVO moment?
Certain people crying when Justin blew it up, and like I'm honorable second to, and this is kind of a general thing. Like every Capcom game being played on in training mode stage. So I hope for Ultra Street Fighter 4 that the PS3 version gets patched so we don't have to deal with that anymore. And if for whatever reason we do have to play training mode stage for Street Fighter 4 for next year, please put on alternate soundtrack. Please.
Yes,
I don't want to hear that
put on
stage.
character specific music.
Yeah.
God damn, that was so. I was right there with you. Like, please, somebody mute this or.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you tonight to all of our wonderful guests. It was a good show. Please follow them on Twitter. You can follow them on Twitter, Magus1234 at twitter.com/Magus1234. Bronson Tran, the second place runner-up in Tekken Tag 2 this year. You can follow at twitter.com/BRNSNTRN. Bronson Tran with no vowels. You can follow Ultra David at twitter.com/Ultra David and his other project at twitter.com/Ultra Chen. And finally, you can follow Sabin at twitter.com/NYC Furby. Make sure you follow our producer on Twitter at twitter.com/Chris Seg, CEG. Make sure you follow I Play Winner on Twitter at twitter.com/I Play Winner. It's Ultra 10 TV, not just Ultra 10. It's Ultra 10 TV. Yeah, make sure you tune in to us next week. We apologize to all you guys who are tuning in via Twitch for the Twitch outage, but YouTube stays strong, so shout outs to YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to both our YouTube channel and our Twitch channel. We simulcast every Thursday. Well, not every Thursday, but most Thursdays, 7 p.m. Pacific time. If you don't manage to catch our live cast on Thursdays, the good thing about our YouTube channel is as soon as we finish simulcasting on YouTube, the video on demand is available directly then. There's no turnaround time, so you can always, if it's 8:30 and you're like, shit, I missed the Fray on Thursday, you can go to YouTube and catch us. So make sure you subscribe to at youtube.com/iplaywinner. That's it for this week. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Derry H. You can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/Derry H. And until next time, hey, take it away.
Yo, Fray!
Right.